Gold Rush Recap. Ness achieves Yukon dream, and Beets crew member makes dramatic exit. The January 17 episode of Gold Rush marked a major milestone for Ness. The 43-year-old's goal was to own his claim outright and officially be a Yukon landowner at Duncan Creek. It's a journey that goes back to 2012 when he drove his $1,500 truck up to Alaska. He decided to take a job with a young gold miner named Parker Schnebel. After breaking out on his own, Ness gambled on buying a remote piece of ground. Now, after 5 years, he made the final 250-ounce payment on the property to Troy Taylor. He officially went all in, despite the uncertainty regarding the water license. Ness can't think about next year with a 1,500-ounce season goal to attain. Elsewhere, Tony Beets has enjoyed success at his Indian River and Paradise Hill claims. Eldest son Kevin was still struggling to get the first taste of gold at Scribner's Creek. Unfortunately, during the episode, more drama bubbles to the surface. Schnebel isn't doing that much better, but has banked on running 3 wash plants simultaneously to dig him out of the financial hole he's in. Read on to see how these hard-working miners did this week. Just about halfway through the season, Ness found himself 2/3 into his 1,500-ounce season goal, but the biggest cut at Raleigh Valley mined out. It was time to move on to what they're calling the 5.5-acre crew cut. Ness worked on stripping and building up the pay pile for Wash Plant Rocky, which sat idle for almost a year. Sluicing would have to wait as oil was discovered dripping from the excavator. It turned out it blew a turbo, which delayed things with Rocky. The cavalry arrived in the form of Ness driving in a new excavator. His first weigh-in as an owner was a measly 10.23 ounces worth, just $25,000. Sluicing for 3 days, Ness fell short of his weekly goal of 43 ounces to hit his 1,500-ounce target. The crew remained dedicated to the cause despite the setbacks. After 10 weeks into the season, the Beets family has mined 2,500 ounces worth more than $6 million in gold. Elder son Kevin hasn't supplied any of that. He's got to get his asterisk together, Tony declared. Kevin was weeks behind on his royalty payments to Dad. He struck a deal with a company with sluice equipment. To help Kevin get on the gold, Tony helped haul in the key machinery needed for sluicing, which was a conveyor and hopper feeder. The hope was to get the new wash plant on the pad at the Lynx Cut. The crew were under the gun to deliver. Right-hand man Brennan Ruolt couldn't focus on the job at hand thanks to more drama within his crew. Once again at the center was Ash Phillips, who was seen having a cigarette break rather than working on the rock truck. Ruolt brought Phillips and her fiance Matt Kiefer on board to lend a hand. Ash had previously gotten into it with fellow operator Hunter Canning. Ruolt had a heated conversation with Phillips. Much like that Michael Jackson meme, Canning had a bag of popcorn to watch the situation unfold. Phillips told Kiefer she was done, not appreciating the talking to she had with Ruolt. Phillips said to the producer she and Kiefer had enough and that she was going home. Kiefer was heartbroken as he wanted to save for a down payment on a house. Phillips said, "Down in Alberta, if someone gave me the grief I've been given, I could punch them in the head." The couple left the site. Kevin revealed he decided to let Phillips go. He gave Kiefer the option to stay, but knew he wasn't going to. At the Lynx Cut, they are down 2 crew, which would put more pressure on Ruolt to finish the pad for the wash plant. The small but mighty crew worked toward getting the pad placed. Schnebel hoped to turn a corner with 3 wash plants running for a full week. He needed the 3-plant blitz to get him out of a massive hole, knowing he was nowhere near his 10,000-ounce goal. To supercharge production at the bridge cut, Schnabel brought in the big guns in two A60s, the biggest rock trucks at his mine site. Just as things were looking up, operator Tatiana Costa had to deal with a broken tailgate. Rather than a timely repair, the mechanics decided to just remove it so the truck can get back to work. Costa opened up a bit about her romance with fellow crew member Taylor Mateka. She revealed the two met while scuba diving in Indonesia. Related more trouble came when one of the A60 rock trucks flipped over on its side, hanging over a 50-foot drop. The A60 weighed 50 tons, which made things even more difficult. Mateka oversaw the recovery mission to get the truck back on its feet. Meanwhile, gold cleaning guru Chris Daumit. He felt the stress of 3 plants running across 3 locations. You could say this loyal soldier was heading into his "I'm too told for this ** era." Daumit reached the point where he had no alternative but to ask Schnabel for help. Schnabel was willing to move a valuable
suggested
crew member
names.
from there. Schnabel turned them all down. It's not fun anymore. If I leave, Daumit playing hardball. Not wanting to lose a good member of the team, Schnabel thought Costa was a good idea. It then came time for the weigh-in. Big Red at the bridge cut generated 74.90 ounces. Roxanne at long cut led to 207.40 ounces. Good old Bob rocked it with 303.07 ounces. This brought in overall 586 ounces worth $1.5 million. It was Schnabel's best cleanup all season. Can he keep the momentum going? Gold Rush recap. Rick Ness achieves Yukon dream and Beets crew member makes dramatic exit in the heart of the frozen and rugged Yukon wilderness. The hunt for gold continues to drive the men of Gold Rush to push the boundaries of perseverance, ingenuity, and ambition. Season after season, the show has evolved from a simple tale of fortune seekers to a saga filled with personal struggles, triumphs, and ever-escalating risks. In the latest chapter of the series, fans were treated to moments of profound victory and heartbreaking losses. Rick Ness achieved his long-held dream of setting up his own mining operation, while a shocking exit from a Beets crew member left the show's dynamics in flux. Rick Ness. From protege to boss, Rick Ness' journey from being Parker Schnabel's trusted foreman to a self-made gold miner has been one of the most compelling arcs in Gold Rush. Early in his career, Rick was the loyal right-hand man to Parker, helping guide the young miner through countless challenges. But as the seasons wore on, it became clear that Rick had bigger dreams. The Yukon was not just a place of employment for him. It was a place to carve out his legacy. In the latest season, Rick took the bold step of striking out on his own. Armed with his knowledge of the mining process and a burning desire to prove himself, Rick set up his own operation, determined to make it in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. However, it wasn't going to be easy. Every miner knows that the Yukon doesn't give up its treasures willingly, and Rick would have to face challenges that tested his resolve and his skills. Yet, the very grit and determination that earned Rick respect as Parker's foreman would prove to be the driving forces that led him toward his own success. Rick's new operation brought a fresh set of obstacles. From mechanical failures to inclement weather, the odds were stacked against him. But he was determined not to be beaten. The stakes were higher than ever, as Rick wasn't just trying to find gold for someone else. This time, the gold was for himself. In a touching moment, Rick shared his deep connection to the land and his drive to honor the hard work of his late father. This personal motivation fueled him during some of the darkest days on the site. As the season progressed, Rick's perseverance began to pay off. With the help of his tight-knit crew, he slowly began to make headway. The operation was never easy, but it started to take shape. Rick, who had been known for his quiet yet steady leadership under Parker, now had to wear all the hats: boss, mechanic, planner, and motivator. It was a massive challenge, but one he seemed to take in stride. His leadership was no longer defined by being Parker's right-hand man. Instead, he was now forging his own path, and that was something many viewers had been rooting for. By the end of the season, Rick achieved a significant milestone. His team had dug deep and unearthed enough gold to validate his decision to go solo. The sight of Rick looking over the results of his hard work was a triumphant moment that was years in the making. He had proved to everyone, including himself, that he was capable of making his own fortune in the Yukon. The satisfaction on his face spoke volumes. Rick Ness had finally realized his dream, and in doing so, had cemented his place in the Yukon Gold Rush saga. The Beets crew. Tensions rise, and a shocking exit. While Rick's success was a defining moment in the season, the Beets crew's storyline took a much darker and more dramatic turn. Tony Beets, the brash and larger-than-life mining mogul, has long been a fan favorite due to his no-nonsense approach to mining. His operation is one of the largest in the Yukon, and he runs it with an iron fist, often pushing his crew to the brink of exhaustion. However, this season saw the tension within his ranks reach a boiling point, leading to a shocking exit from one of his longtime crew members. The Beets operation faced its own set of challenges. The machinery was aging, and the team struggled with mechanical breakdowns, uncooperative weather, and the constant pressure to meet the expectations Tony set. But these problems paled in comparison to the growing tension between Tony and some of his crew members. Tony's style of leadership, which could often be abrasive and demanding, began to wear thin with certain members of the crew. The stress of working under such a relentless, and at times